Hi, everybody, and welcome back for another chapter of Sri Nisargadatta Maharaj's I Am That. Today, we will be looking at chapter 94. You are beyond space and time. You are beyond space and time. You keep on saying that I was never born and will never die. If so, how is it that I see the world as one which has been born and will surely die? You believe so because you have never questioned your belief that you are the body, which obviously is born and dies. While alive, it attracts attention and fascinates so completely that rarely does one perceive one's real nature. It is like seeing the surface of the ocean and completely forgetting the immensity beneath. The world is but the surface of the mind, and the mind is infinite. What we call thoughts are just ripples in the mind. When the mind is quiet, it reflects reality. When it is motionless through and through, it dissolves, and only reality remains. This reality is so concrete, so actual, so much more tangible than mind and matter, that compared to it, even diamond is soft like butter. This overwhelming actuality makes the world dreamlike, misty, irrelevant. This world, with so much suffering in it, how can you see it as irrelevant? What callousness! It is you who is callous, not me. If your world is so full of suffering, do something about it. Don't add to it through greed or indolence. I am not bound by your dreamlike world. In my world, the seeds of suffering, desire, and fear are not sown, and suffering does not grow. My world is free from opposites, of mutually distinctive discrepancies. Harmony pervades. Its peace is rock-like. This peace and silence are my body. Peace and silence are my body. What you say reminds me of the Dharmakaya of the Buddha. Maybe. We need not run off with terminology. Just see the person you imagine yourself to be as a part of the world you perceive within your mind, and look at the mind from the outside, for you are not the mind. You are not the mind. After all, your only problem is the eager self-identification with whatever you perceive. Give up this habit. Remember that you are not what you perceive. Use your power of alert aloofness. See yourself in all that lives, and your behavior will express your vision. Once you realize that there is nothing in this world which you can call your own, you look at it from the outside as you look at a play on the stage or a picture on the white screen, admiring and enjoying, but really unmoved, untouched. As long as you imagine yourself to be something tangible, solid, a thing among other things, actually existing in time and space, short-lived, and vulnerable. Naturally, you will be anxious to survive and increase. But when you know yourself as beyond space and time, in contact with them only at the point of here and now, otherwise all pervading and all containing, unapproachable, unassailable, invulnerable, you will be afraid no longer. Know yourself as you are. Against fear, there is no other remedy. Know yourself as you are. If you consider yourself to be the person, you will have fear. Of course, you will try to protect this imaginary self. But once you realize you are nothing perceivable or conceivable, then fear won't make sense. It will dissolve and disappear and leave you on its own without any effort whatsoever, just from seeing clearly what you are and what you are not. Know the truth, and the truth shall set you free. You have to learn to think and feel on these lines, or you will remain indefinitely on the personal level of desire and fear, gaining and losing, growing and decaying. A personal problem cannot be solved on its own level. The very desire to live is the messenger of death, as the longing to be happy is the outline of sorrow. The world is an ocean of pain and fear, of anxiety and despair. Pleasures are like the fish, few and swift, rarely come, quickly gone. A man of low intelligence believes against all evidence that he is an exception and that the world owes him happiness. But the world cannot give what it does not have. Unreal to the core, it is of no use for real and lasting happiness. It cannot be otherwise. We seek the real because we are unhappy with the unreal. Happiness is our real nature, and we shall never rest until we find it, our real nature. But rarely we know where to seek it. Once you have understood that the world is but a mistaken view of reality and is not what it appears to be, you are free of its obsessions. Only what is compatible with your real being can make you happy. And the world, as you perceive it, is its outright denial. Keep very quiet. Keep very quiet. Fall in love with silence and stillness. Listen to the silence. It's always present. You never have to seek silence. It's always here and now. Keep very quiet and watch what comes to the surface of the mind. Reject the known. Welcome the so far unknown and reject it in its turn. Thus you come to a state in which there is no knowledge, no mental knowledge, only pure being, pure aliveness, pure consciousness, pure awareness. in which being itself is knowledge. To know by being is direct knowledge. You can know a conceptual God, ideas about God, thoughts about God, or you can experience the living presence of the divine here and now, always in your heart, in your awareness, in your consciousness. You are surrounded by God. It is based on the identity of the seer and the seen. Indirect knowledge is based on sensation and memory of the past, on proximity of the perceiver and his percept, confined with the contrast between the two. The same with happiness. Usually you have to be sad to know gladness, and glad to know sadness. This is, we could say, the purpose of duality. You have to know both sides of the one. True happiness is uncaused. We could even call it the joy of our great true nature. Because happiness comes and goes, pleasure comes and goes. But the inherent joy, which is your birthright, because it is what you are at the deepest level. True happiness is uncaused. It's not based in cause and effect duality. And this cannot disappear for lack of stimulation. It is not the opposite of sorrow. In fact, that true joy, it includes all sorrow and suffering. We may even call this love, unconditional love. Like the space in this room, it allows everything to appear and disappear without any judgment, without any control, without any manipulation whatsoever. The space in this room, the love of God is unconditional. No judgment. It's not trying not to judge. There is no judgment. In pure love, judgment doesn't arise. Actually, in pure love, there is not the judging capacity. The judgment, it's in the mind. It's the mind that judges. The mind is in duality, I and other. And this I, this mental I, judges the other, judges either the object, the thing, or another person, or an idea. It can judge anything it wants. It can judge God if it wants to. But this love, your true nature, the Parabrahman, the void, the absolute, there's no judgment. How could there be? You need separation to have judgment. But when all is one, all is the perfect expression of one, oneness, how could it judge itself? It is everything and everyone. It is the totality. Nisargadatta says, God is the totality of consciousness. How can there be judgment when all is one? Advaita, not two. You have to have two things in order to have judgment. So in this spacious love, everything is allowed because nothing is seen as a problem or as imperfect. As Tony Parsons has said, all there is liberation. This is liberation, and this is freedom, and this includes everything. How can one remain happy among so much suffering? One cannot help it. The inner happiness is overwhelmingly real. Like the sun in the sky, its expression may be clouded, but it is never absent. Our true nature may be clouded by the mind. We may be, quote unquote, lost in the mind. We may be identifying with form, identifying with concepts and images. But what we are has never left us. God has never left us. It's impossible because, again, no separation, only one. It's a dream. This is a dream. And when you wake up from the dream, not you as a person, but you as the absolute, when you wake up from the dream, you see that the dream was never real. It was never happening. It was only an appearance. So even now, if you realize to any degree that this is a movie, a story, a dream, it can elicit, create, stimulate courage. In other words, your fear of death is connected to your fear of life. It's the same thing, basically. It's about what's the next moment going to hold. But once this fear starts to melt away, once you see, this is a dream, this is a movie, I'm not actually this imaginary person inside, then courage, fearlessness naturally arises. You just find yourself with less fear, maybe no fear, less stress. You don't find yourself worrying. There's not so much self-consciousness and self-concern. There's just love. Love. And actually, when you're filled with love, it's not even so much that you have courage, because in a sense, you have to be afraid to have courage, right? There's a burning building, and I'm afraid to go in there, but I must do it. I want to save those people, so I'm going to be courageous and I'm going to do it. Or I'm going to give a speech on stage in front of thousands of my colleagues or something. If there's no fear, then there can't be the act of courage. Anyways, I digress. When we are in trouble, we are bound to be unhappy. Fear is the only trouble. There is love and there is fear. Surrender your life to love, whatever that means to you. However you equate that. And don't allow fear to run your life. Okay, maybe there's a little bit of healthy fear that the human being has. I don't want to walk into traffic. I want to be careful. I don't want to electrocute myself. I don't want to cut my finger while I'm cutting broccoli. These natural little fears. But actually, if you're paying attention, if you are aware, you can be aware in a state of love and be careful, and there doesn't have to be some great fear that something bad may happen, something painful may happen. So live love. Know that you are not the body. Know that you are untouched, that you are eternal. This body, every body who has a body, the body will die. Everything that is born will die. But you're not the body. This doesn't make us, it's not that you take it for granted or it makes you shallow, or what's the word I'm looking for? Everything becomes even more sacred, even more precious. So it's not that we just sort of discount everything and we live in a bubble so far above the world and on some cloud. In fact, you can care even more about things, more even about form, your family, your friends, your loved ones. A compassion, a natural compassion arises. You just find yourself caring about people, but not out of fear. There's just love. Everything, Nisargadatta says, everything becomes loving and lovable. And awareness becomes affectionate awareness. So whatever you're with, whoever you're with, it could be a cat, a dog, even a plant, a person, a human being, You just find love, a space that accepts, just a space that is, that listens. Compassion and understanding just arise by themselves naturally when we quiet ourselves. When we surrender to this greater love, this greater divinity. Fear is the only trouble. Know yourself as independent from fear. Again, here's awareness and here's fear. You are not afraid, actually. You are not this fear. This fear is just energy. It's natural. It has its purpose, I guess you could say. It's trying to protect the body. It's trying to protect the imaginary ego. But you are independent. You are the witness of fear. So you can even maybe allow the fear to come into you. Okay, fear, let's see what you got. Let's see how afraid I can be. Fear, fear, fear. And then that energy, it can't last. It's not eternal, the fear. It comes and it goes. It expresses itself, sometimes very powerfully, and then it dissipates. And you remain as spacious, peaceful awareness. Know yourself as independent, and you will be free from fear and its shadows, all the secondary effects of fear, right? Because if you begin to believe the fearful story, it just spreads. I'm afraid of this, and now I'm afraid of that, and what if this happens? And it goes on and on and on and on. That's why sometimes we need to get out our scissors and just cut the fear. Just snap. And if something needs to be done, something will get done. But you don't have to be afraid in order to do it. You just do it. What is the difference between happiness and pleasure? Pleasure depends on things, happiness does not. So what gives you pleasure? An ice cream cone? Shopping? Sex? A comedian? A new car? A new shirt? Pleasure depends on things. If I get this, the object of my desire, it will give me pleasure for a while. It will give you pleasure. Wow, this is great. This is great. And then not so great. You can't maintain that high with an object. I admit some objects, they continue to provide a sense of pleasure. But happiness, again, joy, the joy of your true nature, it doesn't depend on anything. Most people can't believe this, that they could just be happy for no reason. But look at a plant. I have a plant here in my apartment. In a sense, I could say that plant is happy, just being what it is. Or a cat is just happy being what it is. The human being, because of the mind and all the stories that the mind tells it, it's a little bit harder sometimes to find that simple peace. But it's very possible, of course. Sometimes that happiness just comes out of nowhere. Maybe it is, in a sense, connected to something like a beautiful sunset or listening to beautiful meditation music. So it's still a kind of a pleasure. It is. It's dependent on a thing. But sometimes these things, we could say sattvic things, they're like a doorway into the eternal happiness. So that's the point of beautiful music. I play harmonium. I love it. I play the harmonium and it gives me such joy and pleasure. But then when I stop playing the harmonium, what the harmonium has done, it's a sattvic activity that has allowed me to discover something else. So it's not just the music. I find something deeper within me that just seems to be peaceful. Maybe not always blissful and ecstatic, but a peace. And like a small radiating joy, a small love, but it's quite nice. Of course, Nisargadatta is even talking about something beyond this. He's talking about self-realization. When you realize what you actually are, there is a joy present, always. And it's beyond a pleasure that is received from having some sort of relationship with an object, an ice cream cone or a new car, whatever it is. If happiness is independent, why are we not always happy? As long as we believe that we need things to make us happy, we shall also believe that in their absence we must be miserable. That could be an assumption that we have. Mind always shapes itself according to its beliefs. So at this level, what you believe is very important, because you're affecting the story and you're reacting to the story. You're happy because of the story, or you're sad, or you're angry, or you're afraid, based on what you're believing and how you're perceiving whatever is happening in your present here and now. So hence the importance of convincing oneself that one need not be prodded into happiness. That on the contrary, au contraire, pleasure is a distraction and a nuisance, for it merely increases the false conviction that one needs to have and do things to be happy, when in reality, it is just the opposite. For example, I do love my iPhone. And I remember when I first bought my iPhone, there was a lot of pleasure and amazement. Wow, look at this iPhone 6, even this is. And I was amazed by it. And it continues to give me a bit of pleasure every day, because I'm able to use it to watch videos and to listen to music and to make videos. Did I say that? So it provides a certain amount of pleasure. If I were to lose this, or if it were to break, there would be a bit of grief. Believe it or not, a bit of grief. So connected to pleasure is also pain. I have it, I'm happy. I lose it, I have pain. So Nisargadatta is asking us, inviting us to go beyond this pain-pleasure duality. It's not wrong to have desires. It's not wrong to want something. But as the Buddha said, it is desire and craving that creates suffering. It's basically even our desire to want this moment to be different or other than it is can create suffering. So that is why most spiritual practices are about relaxing the mind, relaxing this obsession with desires and fears, with grasping and pushing away, to just let it all go, let it stop. As Papaji used to say, just stop. Stop searching. Stop looking. And what do you know? When you do that, you find that everything is already here. There is a peace and a love and a joy, subtle or great, by just being alive, but also just being. I am. And this I amness, you don't have to worry about losing it like an object which gives you pleasure. This beingness is beyond pain, pleasure, having, not having, getting, losing. This I am is eternal. God is eternal. Love is eternal. This space is eternal. It doesn't come and go. This awareness, it's always present. So you never have to wait again. This is already everything, the absolute, the Parabrahman. As Byron Katie says, God is what is. This is already God. So be here now, because if you're not here now, you'll miss it. You'll be thinking about the past in memory, or expecting something in the future in imagination or hope, and you'll miss the fact that you are here and now. The presence of life is here and now. God is here and now. And the more we are with the here and now, the more we just melt and relax and dissolve into the here and now, the greater this causeless happiness, causeless joy will make itself known. And it's free, doesn't cost you anything, you don't have to do anything. It doesn't want anything from you. It is your birthright. It is your destiny. It is home. The beloved, the perfect lover who has never left you. Unconditional love, mercy, compassion, forgiveness. Everything is present in this moment. But why talk of happiness at all? You do not think of happiness except when you are unhappy. A man who says, "Now I am happy," is between two sorrows, past and future. This happiness is mere excitement caused by relief from pain. Pain is not present. There's some happiness happening. But again, in this dualistic experience, it's pain, pleasure, happy, sorrow, pain, pleasure, happy, sorrow. I get what I want. I don't get what I want. I get what I want. I don't get what I want. So go beyond. Go beyond. Notice that which is always present. Real happiness is utterly unself-conscious. There's no self involved in that pure joy. It is best expressed negatively as there is nothing wrong with me. I have nothing to worry about. When you realize yourself as emptiness, as space, what problems could you have? There's no longer a form to protect, to worry about, to take care of. There's nothing. There's nothing to do, nowhere to go, no one to be, no one to impress. There's nothing. And when it is realized, this emptiness, there's no problems, nothing wrong with me, because how can there be something wrong with space? Empty space. This space is nothing. You know what's wrong with this space? Nothing. It's empty. It has nothing. It is nothing. And in a sense, this is what you are. Emptiness. But it's, as Nisargadatta says, don't pity me, don't feel bad. It's not an emptiness that the mind thinks of. Ooh, empty. Ugh, I don't want to be empty. I want to be full. I don't want to be nothing. I want to be everything or something. Discover this emptiness and you'll see. You'll see what it is. It's quite full, of course. It's full to the brim. After all, the ultimate purpose of all spiritual practice, sadhana, is to reach a point when this conviction, instead of being only verbal or mental, a belief, is based on the actual and ever-present experience. All the spiritual practice is just helping you to be here now and to stop identifying with the mental processes. Which experience is that? The experience of being empty. Of being empty, uncluttered by memories in the past and expectations of the future. The past and the future, they disappear, which is easy because look, they're not even here. Where is the past if you're not thinking about it? It's not here. Where's the future if you're not thinking about it? It's not here, is it? I don't see the past or the future here. The past and the future are only mental concepts, constructions, memories and anticipation, memories of the past, fantasies or imaginations about the future. But this is all happening in the mind. They don't have any reality. That's why Eckhart Tolle is so about the now, right? All there is the now. There's only this moment. It's a now that is like the film, changing moment to moment, but it's changing now. It's in the now. The now is the context, and you are the now. You are the context. And we're just watching as the now changes. This experience, this moment, this thought, this feeling, this sensation, this person, this event, this activity. It's all just coming and going, coming and going. coming and going. And the more you see this, the more empty everything becomes. But that's good, because you stop grasping for everything and, desiring everything and being afraid of everything. Because again, there you are as awareness, aloof, independent, like the white wall, always empty, clean, clear, free. You are freedom itself. You are the now. You cannot escape now. You cannot escape here. Because this is what you are. It is like the happiness of open spaces, of being young, fresh, new, of having all the time and energy for doing things, for discovery, for adventure. Sounds good to me. What remains to discover? The universe without and the immensity within, as they are in reality, in the great mind and heart of God. The meaning and purpose of existence, the secret of suffering, life's redemption from ignorance. A state of absence, of non-existence, cannot be a cause. The pre-existence of a cause is implied in the notion. Your natural state, in which nothing exists, cannot be a cause of becoming. The causes are hidden in the great and mysterious power of memory. But your true home is in nothingness, in emptiness of all content. Your true home is in nothingness, in emptiness of all content. Emptiness and nothingness, how dreadful. You face it most cheerfully when you go to sleep. Find out for yourself the state of wakeful sleep, and you will find it quite in harmony with your real nature. Words can only give you the idea, and the idea is not the experience. All I can say is that true happiness has no cause, and what has no cause is immovable, which does not mean it is perceivable as pleasure. What is perceivable is pain and pleasure. Pain, pleasure, pain, pleasure. The state of freedom from sorrow can be described only negatively. To know it directly, you must go beyond the mind, addicted to causality and the tyranny of time. If happiness is not conscious and consciousness not happy, what is the link between the two? Consciousness, being a product of conditions and circumstances, depends on them and changes along with them. What is independent, uncreated, timeless and changeless, and yet ever new and fresh, is beyond the mind. When the mind thinks of it, the mind dissolves, and only happiness remains. When all goes, nothingness remains. How can there be nothing without something? Nothing is only an idea. It depends on the memory of something. Pure being is quite independent of existence, which is definable and describable. But pure being is undefinable, indefinable, and undescribable. Please tell us, beyond the mind, does consciousness continue, or does it end with the mind? Consciousness, even consciousness, comes and goes, but awareness shines immutably. Who is aware in awareness? When there is a person, there is also consciousness. I am mind. Consciousness denote the same state. If you say, I am aware, it only means I am conscious of thinking about being aware. But there is no I am in awareness. There is no self in awareness. What about witnessing? Witnessing is of the mind. The witness goes with the witnessed. The witness goes with the witnessed. In the state of non-duality, all separation ceases. It's not that it's ever been real anyways. Everything is already non-dual, no separation, Advaita, not two. But when everything goes here, when the ego dissolves and disappears, then we could say that separation ceases, the experience of separation. What about you? Do you continue in awareness? The person, the I am this body, this mind, this chain of memories, this bundle of desires and fears disappears. But something you may call identity remains. It enables me to become a person when required. Love creates its own necessities, even of becoming a person. You see, the person is not the enemy. There is no enemy. The ego is not the enemy. There is no enemy. How could there be an enemy when all is one? The ego, remember, the brain creates a sense of self. It's just a process. It's a natural biological process. And it has a good intention to protect the body-mind. It's just not needed. It's just not all there is. It's not the final or absolute truth. Okay, there is only the Supreme. There is only the Supreme. To see everything as imagination, born of desire, is necessary for self-realization. We miss the real by lack of attention and create the unreal by excess of imagination. Imagination is not the enemy. There's no enemy. But we need to watch this imagination. When it becomes too much, when we just live in our heads, then we miss that which is real, because we're no longer giving our attention to that which is real, to the awareness, to the beingness, to the aliveness. We are lost in thought, lost in visions, lost in the story, lost in the movie. There is only the Supreme. That's a good place to end. There is only the Supreme. There is only the Supreme. All there is this, being, with a capital B. All there is the Parabrahman. This is nothing being everything. This is the absolute being the relative. Advaita, not two. No separation. Variety and difference, yes, that's beautiful, that's wonderful, but no separation anywhere. One life, one God, one love, one consciousness, one awareness, one being, one being. Thank you, Nisargadatta Maharaj. Thanks everybody for watching. We'll see you again for another chapter of Sri Nisargadatta Maharaj's I Am That. Namaste.